You could be destroying yourself and not have any idea that it's going on at the time it is going on. Minutes later, you might have another idea that's lovely and of good report, and so now you're back on track again. You have to determine what you're allowing yourself to entertain as thought. That's what you're here to do, to direct your own self-talk, self-thinking, all the time, because I'm with you always. I will never leave you. If you turn to me, I'll turn to you. And today, this is the appointed hour. Now, change your mind, change your world. It's exactly that simple. Do so and see so for yourself so, right?
Agreed. And it is that simple. Turn to me and I will turn to you. That's the promise in essence. Now, I'm not discounting the other things that come along with the promise, but as Neville would often say, experiencing the promise is the consequence of knowing God. It's not the condition. It's not that you get right and you get all spiritual, then all of a sudden you experience God. It's because you know that you and Father are one. The promises and the visions and the dreams and the things that follow thereafter is the consequences of your relationship. Would you agree?
Absolutely. It's only when you experience God that you realize God is. Up to that time, it's always, I hope so. Would you agree?
I do agree. I so agree. Yes.
Yes. It's only then that you know first person. And that's what we're looking for, is people who want to know first person. Because having had the experience, we can now share with you how it happens. And that's what we've been doing all along, isn't it?
It is.
Yes. We've been sharing with you how to experience the experience. And all you have to do is sit in the silence, be still, and know that I am God. Now, when we say sitting in the silence, that means cutting off the world. You see, you're told to be in the world, but not of the world. So shut it off for a few moments. Go in the closet, close the door, and when you're alone, speak to your Father, which is in heaven. So you're to do so, and see so, right?
Yes. And speaking of shutting off the world, when you return from your excursion with God, the world's going to look the same to you. You know, your family's going to look the same. You're going to feel the same, but you're going to know something has happened. And I only think about the example that Neville gave us about the guy that was driving his car and he put in one of Neville's tapes. And then he was reminded about the vision that he had the evening before. So as Mr. Lindell stated earlier, sometimes it's going to be brought to your remembrance. You're going to remember, because a lot of times we forget moments after we wake up, moments after we have a vision. If we don't sit there and contemplate and think about what it was that we thought about and what we experienced, we lose it. We forget it. Would you agree?
Yes, that's what man does. That's what man. He has a poor memory. He forgets. I mean, what he was just broke out in joy and tears over what he heard. But what about the next day? Is he still feeling the same way? He should be. He could be, because it's the feeling that you know that you felt it. You may not be able to express it in words at the time, but you felt it. And that's all you need to do, is feel after the feeling of having arrived. And that's what you want to do. Even all the things that you desire to have, you see yourself enjoying them. In other words, go to the end of it, as Neville would say all the time. Go to the end, go to the end. You're making the end product in mind, or it's not being made. Because God says if he didn't do it, it wasn't done. So if you want it done, you have to do it in mind. In mind. in imagination, see yourself doing, being, and having your heart's desire. Not how it happened, just that it is happening right now, right with you. It's the only time there is right now. There is no other time. It's all right now. Life is happening now. And that's why he tells you, now is the appointed hour. Now. Do it now. Think about it now. Think from it now. Now is your secret word. I have a big sign up here on the wall here, and it just has letters N-O-W, now, and with a exclamation mark. So, and it's right where, if I just turn my head a little bit, I see it. And it has helped me a lot, really, because now is the appointed hour. So you can't put it off till later, because then you forget it. I mean, or even if you don't forget it and it comes back and says, well, are we ready now? Well, are you? I mean, why aren't you ready? You're being offered. If you knew what you were being offered just to be quiet, that would excite you. Wouldn't you say?
I would. If you knew what was offered in the silence, it's just unimaginable what can be offered to you. And leaving ego outside the door. Right now, I'm talking and I have 2 dogs outside my room, and one's carrying on barking. So every so often I have to put on the mute button and tell the other one to quiet down. That's how ego is. Ego wants your attention every moment of the day. So when you're entering into the silence, ego tries to disrupt with distractions. Would you agree?
Absolutely. He's defending his territory. He's marking his territory so that you don't cross the line, because then he gets excited. Ego has a part to play in the drama, man, but not running the show. And that's what's happening with most people. They're allowing ego to run the show, to choose for them, not allowing them to think so they can choose for themselves, because that's how he defends his territory. He'll make everything look dark if you allow him, and he will do so. Attitude awareness, just being aware of your own attitudes. That's very important. Attitude awareness and imaginational control. In other words, watch what you're looking at in your imagination, because what you're being told is that it's all creative. It may be creative only for a moment if you only think about it for a moment, or if you think about it all day, and all day it's there. But the thing of it is that once you've set a mindset up, it'll act automatically. And so your world is on automatic if it's operating from mindsets that you have created. And since you have created them, you can uncreate them, or in other words, all you have to do is just have a nice thought in place of a not so nice thought. It's that simple, really. Think about it for yourself. Listen to the CDs over and over and over until you get it. In fact, if you need CDs, I'm sure DeCarlo has them ready to go, don't you?
I sent a package out yesterday.
Okay, good show. But look, you're told that you can do it, whatever it is, to change your mind, to change your world. You can do it. God said you can do it. He told you to do it. Why won't you do it? Change your mind, change your world. That's simple, isn't it?
It is. And so going back to the promise, just as Mr. Lindell said a moment ago, he says, see yourself having arrived. See yourself thanking from. Meditate. We tell you to go into the silence. If the promise is what you want to experience, understand what you're asking to experience. It's not really the promise. I know that people are going to say, well, DeCarlo, what are you talking about? What you're truly asking for is to experience God. That's the promise. If you think it's the experience of having the visions and having the birth and experiencing the child, then you're missing it. That's just the consequences of knowing God. But the promise in its essence is your experiencing God Father in you. And so for those who believe that God is just an imaginary friend, they'll never experience the promise. But for you who desire to know him, he says, ask. As Mr. Lindell has said so many times through this program, ask and you shall receive. Would you agree?
That's it. I mean, it's God who told you to ask. I'm just repeating what I've read in Scripture. He tells you that you receive not, so as you ask not. And then I've had people, oh, that's not so, man. I go, I ask, and I ask, and I ask, and I pray, but I don't get any answers. Yes, you do. You did get an answer. He said, well, how do you know that I got an answer? Because all prayer is answered. We're told very plainly, all prayer is answered. And if you don't like what you're experiencing, then you ain't been praying too good, right?
It's true. I was talking to a friend the other day, and we were talking about just that, because he's having all these manifestations, but he's looking at increasing his wealth. But one of the problems he has is charging for his services. And I said, you have a conflict with money. I said, you want more money, but you have a problem charging for your service. I said, there's an oxymoron going on here, and you got to settle that conflict within yourself before you can experience more abundance. Would you agree?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, look, why would you be concerned with what's going on outside of you in the world of experiences, in your environment, if you don't know what's going on inside of you? Because if you don't know what you're doing in your own mind, then you don't recognize what's going on outside, and it always is a mystery to you. And it was always a mystery to me, and a lot of it still is. But the point is that it's as you think you are, not how you hear other people think that they are. It's how you think you are, what you think about what they say, what you think about what they think about, and then you wonder, why me, why this, and why now? Because you're listening to minds that are not settled in themselves, so you can't settle yours. And that's what you want to do, so that you're thinking along the lines that make you what you want to be. You're thinking along the lines that have you experiencing the dreams, the missions, the goals that you want. That's what should have your attention. If those things have your attention long enough, then you'll see yourself in mind, in imagination, thinking, doing what it is you desire to be, to do, to have. And you are a thinking, feeling being. And if you're thinking feelingly, that's ordering your conversations aright, then you shall experience exactly what you're thinking feelingly about, right?
Yes. And I want to add on to what you were saying, because you're talking about people being swayed by other people's opinion. If you're one of those who's swayed by other people's opinion, then you're not swayed by God's opinion, because you have a choice to either be swayed by God or man. And, the prophet said, whether I listen to you or God, I choose to listen to God. Would you agree?
That's it. I mean, that's the whole thing. That's what people don't understand, that you don't want to be involved in so many different things with them. And you would like to tell them what these are a waste of time, because they're just you thinking of things to do to distract yourself away from thinking who you are and what you're doing and what you're being. That's all it is. All those other things you do, like, what do you do in your pastime? Pastime? Is that what you want to do, just pastime? Because that's what you'll be doing forever if that's all you want to do. You're told very simply that it's a self in self and risen drama. So if you don't rise from where you are to where you want to be, then you're not rising. Because it's what you're doing, it's what you're thinking, it's what you're feeling, not what the people around you are thinking or doing. What are you thinking and feeling that you want to be doing, not what you don't want to be doing, right?
Yes. I was listening to a program the other day. It was this billionaire talking, and he came from impoverishment and created billions. But he said, He says, I always tell my children, if you want to create $1 billion, think about what you would do if you had $1 billion and start doing that. What would you do if you just won the lottery? What things would you take on? Whatever those things are, begin doing that, because that's what you're passionate about. Would you agree?
That's it. That's it. What are you passionate about? Actually, that's a good question to ask yourself. What are you passionate about? Do you really know what you're passionate about? What you would sacrifice most things to be able to do so? Do so. In it, thinking from it, is the idea, is the answer you're looking for. Do a thing, and you shall have the power. Having the power is saying, that's it. You did it. You have it. Claim it. That's what you have to do. You have to show up to claim it. If you don't show up, you got nothing. And if you do show up in the wrong state of mind, then you got what you didn't want, because you got what you expected. Just ask yourself this: when you go to church to pray, do you know what you expect? If you expect to get it, then you'll get it. If you don't expect to get it, then you won't get it. Is it that simple? Is it?
It's that simple. And then you'll say that these things don't work. I want to go back to I want to go back to your word pastime. Another name for killing time is suicide. You're killing yourself, because time is spirit being objectified. When you understand that you're spirit and you have a certain amount of time in this realm and you're killing it, you're killing yourself. Would you agree?
Oh, sure. I mean, the thing of it is, can't you think of something better to be doing than what you're doing? It's that simple. Just think of feeling, being, having something that you didn't do or be or have before, and just think about it and enjoy it. Well, what would you be doing if you had it? See, the thing of it is that you must understand you're operating the power. See, when he gave you choose this day, he gave you the power. How are you using the power? What are you thinking, expecting? What is it? Because what it is what you will be experiencing. And if you don't choose it, then who knows what you'll be doing? Because it's up to you to choose this day. Isn't that what it says?
It is what it says.
And you're doing so. See, that's the thing they don't understand. Is that you're told to do it, but you are doing it. You're just not paying attention to what you're doing it. I mean, that's what you need to learn. If you have a defective belief system, believing bad things will happen in your future, that's all it takes. And then when you're experiencing it, you're saying, why me? Why this? Why now? Because you ordered it and you got what you ordered. Isn't that right?
It is right. And I want to make a distinction between the law and the promise. Everybody's operating the law. Everyone on this planet, all 8 billion people plus. The difference with the law and the promise is those who are of the promise know that they're operating the law, and they know who they're operating the law with. Do you agree?
Yes, I do, if they're single-minded, but if they're double-minded, then it's out the window. The whole thing is, you have to stand and to see the victory. If you're wavering a little this way or that way, no, you have to stand to see the victory. And it's with you right here, right now. All you have to do is recognize it. God gave it to you already. You're told the worshiping God is using his gifts, so there you are. So you must have them. Why not focus on those? Focus on the gifts that you have. I mean, why would you expect more if you're not even being respectful of what you already got? I mean, you have blessings, blessings, and blessings, but is that what you're focused on? Or are you focused on little nonsensical things that bug you to death? And that's exactly what they're doing. You're allowing yourself to bug yourself to death with things that are not important. Why not think feelingly about what is important and stay with it, wouldn't you say?
I would say, and it's funny that you use the term bugging themselves to death because it's true. Many people are dealing with ailments inside their body, mental faculties. It's because of they've allowed ego to run the show. When you begin to understand that you and Father are one, the things that move you today, as many will attest, won't move you then because you understand that none of these things move me. Do you agree?
Yes, yes. Can you explain to me what ego is?
Someone said it this way, and I love it. Is ego is edging God out.
That's it. That's it. That's it. That's it. That's his whole purpose. See, he wants you to himself. He doesn't want you to be looking at any other gods. He wants you to be looking at him. And that's what just look at what on television, most of the commercials. They got 20-year-olds telling you how they got rid of their wrinkles.
It's true.
I mean, there's all kinds of signals there. You just got to pay attention. well, come on. What has your attention has your life. Isn't that it? And what are they catering to? Your ego. I mean, isn't it what it is?
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's it. So everything out there is catering to your ego, and ego loves it. But if you turn ego off, man, he'll go crazy. Or just as long as he just goes. That's it. You have to take charge. Especially since you're already in charge and you are running the show. How are you running it? Do you like it? Because you are running the show. No question about it, because you're given choose this day, and you are doing so, whether you're aware you're doing so or not, and doing it unaware, and that you could be creating havoc, right?
You can, and you will be.
Yeah, I missed that one. You will be. I was just thinking about what's going on over there, where you're at, and what's going on over here.
You know, and the thing is, you can let that, as you know, hold your attention, and it can take you in all different kinds of ways. But I've spoken with so many people that the world without has their attention, and their life is in chaos. And it's a beautiful world, the world without. We're choosing, as Mr. Lindell will often say, we're choosing our heaven or our hell. Would you agree?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Look at the people who claim that they're in hell right now. See, they're seeing hell for what it is. Because what are you told? You're told, bring heaven on earth. You're given to do that. So in other words, choose this day, you would choose to bring heaven on earth, wouldn't you?
You would.
Well, why aren't you doing that? See, that's what I'm asking people. Why aren't you doing that? You're told, by God, you're told to bring heaven on earth. So he wouldn't have told you that if you couldn't do it, would he?
He sure wouldn't.
See what I mean? People don't even, they're using religion to block out common sense. You know, it really.
Yeah.
You're told that you can do it. So then you can do it. And if you can do it for yourself, then you don't need them. And that they know that. So they do it all in little stages to keep your mind. That's why they want you as children. They want you younger and younger and younger, because when you're younger, and they can induce in you ideas and attitudes that will run your life as long as you don't change them, right?
For a lifetime in often cases. So as we're winding down and experiencing the promise, what would you say to the listener in closing?
Well, you can only experience it if you believe it. So that's what you should be working on. What do you believe? Wouldn't you say?
I would say that's a great ending. And sir, as always, I appreciate you.
I appreciate you too. Okay. Talk to you later.
Talk to you later. When I had my promise, I really had no expectation, and I don't know if that plays a big part in it or not. I had heard and listened to Neville talk about his experience, and I just wrote that off as Neville's experience. And so when I had the promise, I was as surprised as he was when he experienced the promise, because, like I said, I had wrote it off. And the reason why I wrote it off was because I already understood my relationship with Father at a human level, and I knew that there was no separation between me and God. And I believed that. So I was okay with living this life and dying with that as my assumptions. When it happened, I envisioned this serpent rising from my spine. The serpent kind of reminded me, because it was, even though it was one unit and it was transparent, I could see the golden liquid light in the serpent. But it kind of was also had like these sections. I don't know if any of you are old enough to remember like the snakes in a can. And when the snakes pop out of the can, they're kind of like a slinky of sort. So it was like these, or when you go to the fair or the circus and they make those balloon animals and you make the snake and it's a whole bunch of balloons kind of linked together. And later I discovered what that meant to me was that was symbolic of the spine. I was looking to see this smooth serpent, but like I said, it kind of had these sections in the serpent. Like I said, I kind of realized that that kind of symbolized my spine. Beyond that, the serpent rose up and it entered into my skull. Now, I didn't witness any type of explosion like Neville said that he experienced. When I woke from that dream, I thought it was a very weird dream, and I didn't give it much thought until the second dream. I went back to sleep. I was awakened, and I had given birth to a child. The child was a olive complexion, so mine was not blonde hair, blue eyes. And I only make that distinction because your child may be a girl. It may be of some other nationality. So don't believe that it has to be exactly like Neville's was. And I want to stress that your oneness with God doesn't have to appear like Neville's experience. Neville gives you dates and how much time must pass and elapse. God's going to do it different in each person. And if you had somebody that even came close to Neville's events, I guarantee there are going to be those things that differ. So you're realizing that you're one with Father, what we call the promise, may be brought about in something entirely unique to you. The key is you realizing your oneness with Father. Going back to the story. So I'm seeing this child next to me. We're covered in blood. He's got the afterbirth on him, and he's asleep. And there's three witnesses around me. So I can see the three witnesses, and then I can see the picture of everyone in the dream, even including myself. So I'm kind of at that point a observer of what's going on. The child didn't speak or smile at me or anything like that. The child was asleep, but I had realized that I had given birth to this child. And it was then when I woke from that dream that I realized that I had experienced the promise. What I want to say also, Neville will often say that the experiencing God is our understanding of our relationship with God. So it's the consequences of our understanding our oneness with God and not the cause or the causation. You know, a lot of times people feel that if I was only spiritual enough, I could have this experience. I want to tell you that it's not about your condition or where you're at or how spiritual you are or if you're righteous. Mr. Lindell will often say, it's not about worthiness. It's not about your worthiness. Scripture talks about this ongoing, that none were righteous, none were worthy. I was still experiencing challenges in my relationship. I was still experiencing challenges with, my business. I still had, interactions that may have not always been to my liking. But the whole point is, it's not about how spiritual you are. The biggest key is the consequences of understanding your oneness with Father. And that I knew. That I know that Mr. Lindell knew. I certainly know that when Neville experienced it and he had no clue that it was coming, he understood his oneness with Father. As you come into the knowledge of your oneness with God, you're going to experience these revelations, these insights, what we call the promise or the new birth. But just because you don't have this mental revelation, as it were, you still understand your oneness. And I promise you, I don't know what the revelation is going to be for you, but I promise you that you will experience God's promise in his way for you. This is Coach DeCarlo saying have a great and abundant day.